Hoagie.
Hola! It's Goose's Wrestling Pod, and we are here at AAA when worlds collide. Now, you're probably wondering, hey, how come you're suddenly covering a Lucha Libre show? Because this was offered by WCW. This was promoted and produced by WCW. So this counts and it was put on pay-per-view in America. Most the AAA shows were not put on pay-per-view in America.
This was an American pay-per-view. Yeah.
This was an American pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm.
And it's produced by Bischoff and the rest of his crew, the rest of the WC. If you watch the credits, I stayed to watch the credits, and a lot of WCW names were on there.
Yeah.
And yeah.
You know,
Andrew, your mic went dead.
This is still a AAA show. AAA is a Mexican wrestling promotion.
Yeah,
it's still a AAA show, but it's produced by WCW, like their crew. We're talking like ring crew. I think they even borrowed one of their rings and their commentators and everything. And it reminded me of the first All In. If you guys remember the first All In that happened, where before it was called the AEW or anything, it was run by Cody Rhodes and his elite friends. It was actually produced by Ring of Honor. Okay.
Yeah.
They used Ring of Honor's connections with the pay-per-view, people. It's to secure an actual pay-per-view. Then they secured through Ring of Honor, they secured a location, and through Ring of Honor's connections, they secured that, and then they used Ring of Honor's crew, like their ring crew, their TV, their pay-per-view, like camera crew and everything, pretty much. So Ring of Honor actually owned AEW All In footage. The only difference is in this one, even though WCW produced it or helped produce it, they don't actually own the footage for this. And I think that's why it's not on the network, right?
They do. No, there's something weird going on, because they did own the footage, because the Rey Mysterio match is on his first DVD set. It's on there.
Yeah, I have that DVD. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So they had the footage. They've shown. I for some reason, and I can only surmise the same thing with the Korean show, because the Korean show's not on the network either. It must be some deal where they have to pay AAA or they have to pay New Japan money to put it on the network, and they were just like, "Fuck it, who cares?"
We don't want to pay them. Oh, I see.
Yeah, I heard that's why the New Japan shows, the super shows, because they were offered on pay-per-view as well, the WCW New Japan, because they don't want to pay. New Japan gets the royalties, and they don't want to give it to them.
So, that's so petty. It's like when, Marvel doesn't want to pay, the Ultraverse creators. They're like, yeah, we don't want to use Lord Pumpkin and Prime because we don't want to pay people. Just pay them. It's literally pennies to you guys.
Prime was created by a pedophile. So
what?
The guy who created Prime was outed as a pedophile. I think he's in prison right now.
Oh shit! Really?
That's a whole other podcast. I really like this show, and to me, this show is an example of how to do a Forbidden Door style pay-per-view. And what I mean by that is, I think Tony Khan, instead of hiring Bobby Lashley, which is the new rumor, he should do whatever it takes to bring Mike Tenay back into wrestling because they explain to you, as Tenay and Chris Cruz, who everyone is, in such detail. They are so good at telling you why you should give a fuck about every match and why the rules are different. And they reiterate and reiterate. By the end of the show, you feel like a fucking expert in this world. Whereas when you start it, and AEW is so bad at that. AEW will have fucking Taco Mitsubishi walk out. Excalibur will scream, it's Taco Mitsubishi from CML. People will be like, I don't know who this is. And then all of you should just Google it. No. Excalibur should be like, Taco Mitsubishi has been wrestling for CMLL for 20 years. He won the New Japan title in 2013. He was in the Bullet Club. He's here because he's upset that Jon Moxley stole his tacos and his Mitsubishi. Like, just explain it. Give it to me. Tenay is so fucking good at telling you hey, this is why you should care about Antonio Pena or whoever, or Pero Aguirre. This is why you should care about this guy. By the end of the match, I want to kill Conan for hurting this old man because they explain it to me.
I need to see indie wrestler go by the name of Taco Mitsubishi. I love that fucking name, dude.
Taco Mitsubishi. But no, that's
That's
what
a great name,
like.
dude. That's a great name for a wrestler.
Dude, fucking, I won't be watching Dynamite, and I'm like, holy shit, Taco Mitsubishi is gonna fight Orange Cassidy on Rampage, and someone's like, who is that? And I'm like, why don't you just fucking Google it? No, I'm not fucking Googling him. I want the AEW social media team to be like, Taco Mitsubishi is the CMML Cruiserweight Champion. And, I just give me something about Taco Mitsubishi.
Yeah, I think people just don't. Excalibur was never good at that part of commentary. And in the
Mike Tenay
beginning,
is so good at it, bro.
yeah, in the beginning, I gave him a pass at it because he was new, right? And new at the national level, right? But it's already been like 5 years and he still doesn't get it. And it's like, I don't. I think it's time for Excalibur to go.
People will say stuff like, we need a video package. I don't think we need a video package. I just think you need. So when you bring in someone Forbidden Door style, that's when you bring in a Mike Tenay. And if you want, I'm sure there's guys on the internet you can hire to do this. It doesn't have to be Mike Tenay. You bring in a Mike Tenay,
You don't
and
even know, but here's the thing: Jim Cornette and Brian Last were talking about this. Dude, they already have commentators on their roster that could do this. Ian
the
Riccaboni
guy
from
from Wrestling Observer,
who's that?
Alex Marvez, he could
They
do
got
it.
Alex Marvez. You're right.
Yeah.
He's from the Wrestling Observer.
What?
He's from the Wrestling Observer.
Yeah, he was a call. Yeah, he used to do on the podcast and stuff.
Oh, okay. Well, they got him. You're right. The number one, they do have him. Number two, they have Ian Riccaboni from Ring of Honor who would do that.
Mm-hmm.
Caprice Coleman would probably do that. Caprice Coleman is a very underrated commentator. And they've already have members on their commentary team who can do this. It just happens to be that, in my opinion, I think Tony Schiavone, Excalibur, and Taz put together, those three just got way too comfortable. I feel like they think they're untouchable, so they got kind of lazy.
But I also feel like it comes from the top. I think Tony Khan feels that if you watch AEW, you should watch everything, including WWE. You should know who everyone is at all given times, and I think it comes from the top. And no, if you have a Tenay guy, just slowly explain to me why I should give a fuck about this match. You've created a star. You've created now I'm invested. When the two guys were getting beat up by Eddie Guerrero and Art Barr, I don't know the two guys, right? But I was like really caring about them because Tenay is explained to me over and over again why I should give a fuck that these guys are getting pummeled and why it's such a big deal that they might lose their masks. And they don't do that in AEW. They just don't. But they're doing. And it's like, bro, this format was laid out 30 years ago. You can't fucking copy it.
Yeah, but it wasn't just them. I mean, a lot of people have done that thing where the commentators are the ones who add to the story, right?
Yeah.
They just don't. Excalibur just doesn't do that. That's his problem.
It's just there's so many problems with AEW. I heard, by the way, I did hear though they got renewed by the Warner Brothers.
They did.
But they haven't announced it yet, probably because Joe Biden's about to announce that he's flying into outer space, so they don't want to overshadow the news.
I mean, good for them. At the end of the day, I was thinking about it, I was like, I really like AEW. I still like them. I still like that they're around because if it wasn't for AEW, we probably wouldn't have gotten CM Punk back. In all honesty.
And we wouldn't have Cody Rhodes as the champ.
Yeah, and we wouldn't have not only did they light a fire under WWE's ass, but they introduced me personally to a lot of guys I didn't know, like the Dark Order, Private Party.
Most introduced me to Dark Order.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, nobody that I didn't already know. I mean, those are the guys I'm trying to think I didn't know anything about. But and
this is coming out Friday, so the
and stuff that are coming in. So I still like that they're around. I still really like AEW. I just wish it was better. It honestly is like TNA. I used to really like TNA when they first started.
They're TNA at this point.
Yeah, I was so into TNA when it first started, and I just wanted them to be better, and it just got worse and worse and worse. Like TNA, you saw like the downgrading of quality like year after year. It was like watching a comedian get worse as a comic every year, and that's what TNA was like. And AEW is kind of following that same trend where every year I think they're getting worse and worse. And after 20 years, we'll probably see an improvement. After 20 years.
This is my thing with AEW. And again, and because nobody has we've had this conversation on the podcast, but nobody has it on these fucking wrestling economics. You have to assume the ratings on a Wednesday night in 2016 through 2019 on TNT and TBS were in the toilet, right? You have to assume that like 50,000 people were probably watching fucking Man of Steel, right? So anything above that is a plus. So while Rampage at 300,000 looks like shit, and Collision at 300,000 looks like shit, we don't know what the ratings were on Saturdays because no one does report because they're not real reporters, you know? None of these people are real reporters, but nobody looks to that to be like, hey guys, I know Collision's ratings look bad, but the Man of Steel rerun was getting like 20 people. So 20 to 300,000 is worth reinvesting. My concern is if the ratings keep going lower, and I think they will, because Tony Khan is good as right now. I have no interest in AEW. I realized he has no interest in entertaining me. He is only in it to entertain himself and weirdos like Dave Bixby and Sean Ross Sapp. He's not changing, so I'm not going to watch. And more people are gonna feel like that. He's not gonna, and he's only gonna see this renewal as affirmation that he's on the right path. And I think what's gonna happen is the ratings are gonna get, the ratings are gonna get so bad that he won't get a third renewal. He just won't.
Yeah, but we're gonna get like all these like really cheap figures then.
Oh yeah, you're gonna get a $4.99 Bobby Lashley figure.
Or Okada. $4.99 Okada.
I love that
That's
MVP.
What I'm looking for, brother. $4.99 Okada.
By the way, you hear like now people trying to say Triple H is racist, and Vince wasn't racist, and because he didn't push Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley.
Yeah, I can see the Triple H being racist. I can see that.
Well, what he did to Booker T, when we get to WrestleMania 19, I'm going to be screaming into the wall. What he did to Booker T was just fucking disgusting at 19.
Yeah, absolutely, dude.
I can't, I don't know. I've never rewatched that match because as I saw in real time, I was livid. I was fucking livid.
I honestly do think Triple H has a little bit of racism in it, 100%. I think
Triple H has a lot of issues like Vince.
Yeah, he was super into like, dude, this is the guy with the blackface or something like that.
And he has like the German Iron Cross as his logo.
Yeah. I think he's got a little bit of like, he's not like super like go back to Africa racist. He's not like that, but he's more like there will never like there is not a black man that's above me kind of situation.
Yeah. And the other thing about him, and the other ththing about him is, he's not go back to Africa racist, but he's like, I got to keep the property value up, and he won't sell his house to like Montez Ford. And he puts his house on sale, and Montez Ford says, I'll pay cash $20 million up front. No, it's okay. He'll do instead a mortgage deal with a white fucking banker.
Yeah. You know? That's the kind of racism that I see Triple H.
Yeah.
He's not the go back to Africa racist.
He's I won't sell my house to you racist.
Yeah. He's that kind of racist. Yeah.
By the way, so before we get into the show, because I want to get into the show, we have a lot to talk about with AAA Worlds Collide. I do want to say a lot of people were pissed. Joe Hendry did not win the world title at Slammiversary. Instead, Nick Nemeth won it, and people were livid. Here's why I don't think that's a bad idea. Josh Alexander turned heel and cost Joe Henry the title.
Yes.
Joe Henry has recently been fucking with Ethan Page on NXT.
Yes.
What I think this is leading to, and again, this is going to come out Friday. NXT hasn't been taped yet. It's being taped tomorrow. I think this is leading to a reunion of the North. And
oh, dude, you remember how good that tag team was, dude?
my thing with the North, listen, I like both guys. When they're together, they're Enzo and Cass. You know, at this point, I'll say this with AEW, just bring in Enzo.
Yes.
You're wasting Cass with fucking Jericho. He didn't rape anyone. He was found innocent, all right?
Yes.
I know once you're accused of something, you're a piece of shit. He didn't rape anybody. Bring him in. Because just like Enzo and Cass, fucking Ethan Page and Josh Alexander together are unstoppable. And I think that's what's it's leading. It's leading to this big NXT TNA crossover where the North are the top heels. And I'm fucking ready for it, man.
Dude, they should 100% bring Enzo in. And when we used to review Impact Wrestling, we remember the North was like one of the best things they had going. It was such a great tag team.
The North's a fantastic tag team. And I think with the WWE getting behind Joe Hendry, what the fuck is this? Hold on. Sorry. No, the WWE getting behind Joe Hendry and also Ethan Page. And I can see them being like, dude, Josh Alexander, I think he could be a future main eventer. He's got Jacob Fatu potential. Why not bring him in? And why not have the North take on the fucking NXT tag teams? And why not put the North in TNA? There's so much money left on the table with the North.
How cool would that be if you have a tag team where one guy is like a WWE wrestler and one guy is an Impact wrestler?
They have that. They have the Rascals. The Rascals are back.
Yeah, the Rascals are back technically. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I guess they are technically already doing that. Yeah, dude, you know, like this is what
the AEW partnership should have been. The North should have been on AEW in 2021, beating the shit out of the Young Bucks. Instead, they fucking put Ethan Page with Scorpio Sky and that fucking loser Dan Lambert, and they had Sting beat them up. Dude, I know people like that Sting run. I thought that did so much damage to so many Young Bucks. I mean, so many young people, so many young talent.
So many Young Bucks.
No, but I'm just saying, like, fucking imagine the North versus fucking the Young Bucks at Double or Nothing 2021. Yeah, dude, that's what it's all about.
Ethan Page was, I mean, like, when they did that crossover, the only people who actually did anything was like Christian and like Kenny Omega going over to AEW.
And they were already in AEW
wrestling. And they were beating everybody.
Dude, Tony Khan pulled some Vince McMahon bullshit on them. I'm sorry, he did.
What?
He pulled some Vince McMahon bullshit on that company.
Yeah, he 100% did. Yeah. He
all right, so
he was a mark for himself.
Yeah, well, fuck him. Yeah. I'm done with that piece of shit. The worst person ever lived, and I'm counting Vince McMahon.
And you know what? He doesn't even do a good job booking luchadors. You know who does a good job booking luchadors? AAA.
AAA, let's get into it. Worlds Collide.
Yeah. Taking place November 6, 1994 in LA at the Sports Arena. 13,000 people are in attendance. It's a sold-out show in LA, in America. This, what do you call it? By the way, little history background on this. AAA is actually a really, really young wrestling promotion. It actually started in April 1992. So at this point, it's like less than 3 years old.
Oh, wow,
okay. Young promotion, yeah. That's part of the reason why they needed this help. They don't have like all this.
Well, I think this was tremendous because I remember hearing. I remember I wasn't watching wrestling. I didn't give a shit about it. I heard about this show when it was happening.
Yes.
Yeah.
This was like. Well, did you have any interest in wanting to watch it when you heard about it?
No, I had no interest in anything, but I heard about it. I heard like WCW is putting on a Lucha Libre show. And I was like, oh, really? That's different. I think WCW did so much to help this company This is what cross promotion is supposed to be like.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a really new company. It's a lot of fun. It just got that energy when it's like a new company. It's got a lot of energy, kind of like AEW did in the first 3 years. Now, what's really interesting to know about this is this: ECW had a show called When Worlds Collide in May 1994. So it's just like literally in the same year they had ECW had a show called When Worlds Collide that actually WCW did already know about because they send wrestlers over there like Bobby Eaton, Arn Anderson. So that's why it was called When Worlds Collide. But they
Mm-hmm.
still put on a show, helped a AAA put on a show called When Worlds Collide. So you know what Paul Heyman did, right? He sued. He sued WCW,
He's such an
and
asshole.
they had to settle out of it. They did a settlement, and part of the package in that settlement was things like I think Sherry going over to ECW and Brian Pillman showing up in ECW, which is that's gonna snowball
And
into
then
him.
he left his contract. Yeah.
Exactly. So this is actually a historic show. Without this show happening, that probably wouldn't have happened. Okay. So we got an intro graphic that goes over the car. We got Chris Cruz in the ring with Arturo Rivera, who I believe was still doing some of the announcing for AAA,
Yes.
even like a few years ago. Yeah, he might still be doing it now. He does the Spanish intros and stuff like that. So Chris Cruz and Mike Tenay, who's the hotline at WCW, they're going to be on the English commentary. This is a historic match for Mike Tenay because this will be his first commentary exposure
On the grand stage. He might have done some stuff on TV. We don't know because we don't have access to those shows.
His first pay-per-view, I should say.
His first pay-per-view. He did. Yeah. I think these two did a great job. I thought they did a great job, and they really. I was never like, "What the fuck am I watching?" Which sometimes I am in AEW. I knew who everyone was at all times.
Yeah. I think what do you call it? This was a fun show. In that the commentary really helped because when you're watching this, I knew some of these guys because I have watched Lucha Libre, but some of these guys I didn't know, like the minis. I knew nothing about the minis, right?
Yeah, me neither. Well, one of them becomes Max
match.
Mini in WWE.
What?
One of them becomes Max Mini in WWE.
Max Mini? Who the fuck is Max Mini?
He was like the mini. You don't remember Max Mini?
No.
Max Mini. So in 1998, they have a mini division. It's very short lived. He's at the Royal Rumble '98, which is why I remember it. But they make the star Max Mini. He's like the star, and they call it the mini division. Basically, they bring back midget wrestling in early '98.
That's when I wasn't watching WWE.
Well, I bought the Royal Rumble '98 on VHS, and I used to rewatch it over and over. So they made a big deal out of Max Mini, that he was like the greatest.
Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting. But yeah, I don't know anything about the minis. And Chris Cruz and Mike Tenay on commentary did so much where I felt like I really knew everybody.
Yeah, he did a good job.
That's a good example of their commentary. I also think Chris Cruz, I don't even really know him as much as I know Mike Tenay, but he's got a great voice for commentary.
He does.
Gave me a boner, I'll tell you that. All right, let's go to our first match, the minis match. Expetrito and Jerrito Estrada, who, by the way, is the tallest mini in this match at 5 feet.
He looked like Marco Stunt, bro.
Yeah, is Marco Stunt 5 feet? Let me see.
I know, but he looked like Marco Stunt. He reminded me of Marco Stunt.
Okay, yeah. By the way, did we mention Marco Stunt is back in AEW, or was it just a one-off?
I think it was just a one-off. I hope he's not really back.
Okay, yeah. He's a youth group pastor now, so I'd rather him stay as a youth group pastor. I like that he's a youth group pastor. That's cool. Marco Stunt is 5'2", so he could not qualify as a mini. Chris Cruz and Mike Tenay tell us the height limit for a mini is exactly 5. So this guy just makes the cut. Estrada, who is the tallest. They're going to be facing Mascarita Sangrada and Octagoncito. And Pepe Casas, they're going to have these two referees. Pepe Casas is one of the referees. Very, very famous. Pepe Casas is a very, very famous referee. When I was watching Lucha Libre in the 2000s, the early 2000s, he was still refereeing, but he was old as shit. He was so slow. Like he would get down when he would have to go down to make a cover, the pinfall, the count. He was
Yeah.
so slow, and then trying to get back up, he was even slower. But anyway, he is the father of like a whole family of wrestlers, even one we're gonna see tonight. But one of the I think the top members of his family is Negro Casas, who I think was still wrestling even to this day. And Chris Jericho loves that guy, Negro Casas. But Negro Casas, he's really good. He's actually pretty talented. He doesn't look like he would be good, but he's fucking good.
Yeah.
Anyways, Esposito and Octagoncito, they start the match, but when Esposito goes outside, Estrada comes in. So it's Lucha Libre rules. So like basically, you don't need to tag in when your partner goes outside the ring. That gives you free reign to come in whenever you want. Chris Cruz explains this very well, but then he also calls everybody midgets. So I thought that was kind of interesting. The heels, they put on a lot of heat on Octagoncito, and when they try to beat on Sangrada, Esperito, who's barefoot, by the way, this is a barefooted wrestler, he goes up on top, and then he slips and he crotches himself on the top row, which was a really fun spot. The crowd loved it. This, however, distracts the referee, and it allows Estrada to low blow Sangrada. And then Sangrada and Octagoncito are both able to kind of just outmaneuver, and outspeed Esperito. And Sangrada does a side moonsault and Esperito on the outside. That was a pretty cool spot because they're small. They're doing like that's a taller fall than like a regular size dude. So I was like, wow, that's pretty impressive. Octagoncito also does a high flying move. He does like a suicide dive on Estrada on the outside as well. Then Sangrada hits a moonsault from the top rope to Esperito for the cover, while Octagoncito has Estrada all tied up in a submission move. So you have your good guys win this match. I enjoyed this minis match. What about you?
I thought it was good. It was probably, and let me just say this: there's no bad. So this is on YouTube. You can watch this for free.
Yes.
There's no bad matches on this show. Come on, Kat, get out of the way. There's no bad matches on this show. But I will say this is the match I enjoyed the least. But it was still good.
There's a match that's I did not enjoy as much as this match, but
Okay.
I will agree with you. I will agree with you. There isn't technically a bad match on the show. Even the match that I don't like isn't really that bad. You know?
Exactly. Yeah.
Uh-huh. I think it's a fun way to start. I think putting the minis up first. There's only 5 matches on this show. That's one. Let's go to the second one. It is the Battle for Respect, the 6-man tag, 6-man match. I believe this is the match that was on the Rey Mysterio DVD that WWE released early on in 2000s, right?
Yes, this was on the DVD. Yes, and I watched it there. Yes.
Yeah, it's better there because the one on YouTube that we're watching for free, it's all squiggly lined. That's kind of the
Yeah. So you can still get this Rey. I think it's Rey Mysterio. It's a 3-disc set, I believe, or is it the 1-disc one? There's like 3 Rey Mysterio sets.
There's I have both of them. I even that I think it's the 1-disc set, but even that I don't think it was 1 disc. I think it's 2 discs.
It might be 2 discs. Well, there's 3 sets. There's one where Matt Stryker and Rey Mysterio introduce every match. This came out in like 2010, 2011.
It's on the first one that they brought up, though, the 619.
You know, they were smart. They were smart to give Rey Mysterio so many DVD sets because they knew because you know what? When you buy a Rey Mysterio DVD set, you get your money's worth.
And Rey Mysterio is just money. Like people love that mask and everything. Like it. I don't know about you, but like I think like especially when I was a kid, when I saw a masked wrestler, I just liked him more than a guy with just like no mask.
Well, because he seems more like a superhero.
Yeah, exactly, and I think that's part of the appeal. Anyway, the participants in this match is Fuerza Guerrera, who is actually the father of Juventud Guerrera, and Madonna's boyfriend, who is Louis Spicoli, who will go on to wrestle in WWF for a little bit as Rad Radford. And Psychosis, who you guys would all remember, he's been in WCW and WWE. These 3 will be facing Rey Mysterio, Heavy Metal, who is one of the sons of Pepe Casas, who is the referee, and Latin Lover. And as soon as these three come in, they get attacked right away and they get sent right onto the outside. Spicoli is the biggest one in this match. He's not as fat as he was in WWF, but he's like in shape, but he's still humongous. And he toys around with a much smaller Rey Mysterio. Basically, like Rey tried to hit him, and he no sells everything. Classic big man, little man stuff. Until Latin Lover comes in, and Latin Lover commentators let us know he's a former male stripper. So a lot of the things he does is he does a lot of dancing and gyrating in the ring. Spicoli, when he would get hit by a Latin Lover, he would dance off. But Spicoli did a lot of dancing too, and he tried to dance off a lot of Latin Lover's offense. But then he gets hit with a super kick that puts him in his place. Little fun spot there. Forza gets in with his former heel tag team partner, Heavy Metal. Stuff that the commentary team did a great job explaining. They used to be a tag team until Heavy Metal changed his ways and went to the good side. And this pisses off Forza even more. And that's why they don't like each other even more. I love that. Just like a little background that lets me know, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, Heavy Metal comes in and where's the low blows Heavy Metal right in front of the referees who don't call it, which is I thought was kind of like, ugh. But then Heavy Metal just returns the blow. Here's a little thing about AAA that I've always personally noticed about when I used to watch, because I watched both CMLL and AAA. AAA was a lot more like you can always use foreign objects. Nobody will call it and shit usually, unless it tied into the storyline.
But I will say though the announcers cover up for it a lot. So like the minute like they start doing like lucha libre tag rules, like Chris Cruz and Mike Tenay beat it into the ground that they're allowed to do that. It's not like WCW, and they're allowed to do it. Whereas in AEW, like they just don't say anything. Like fucking Young Bucks will just be running around. One of the buck fuck number one gets thrown out. Buck fuck number two's in the ring for 20 minutes and no one says shit. And you're like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. The commentators team did help out the action in the ring a lot. Spicoli, there's a fun spot afterwards where Spicoli throws Rey Mysterio into the crowd. I was like, geez, it's crazy. Heavy Metal starts running the ropes, and it's like, as he's running the ropes, this was a really cool spot. As Heavy Metal is running the ropes, Psychosis kicks Heavy Metal in the leg. So Heavy Metal, like, instead of like tripping, he jumps and he kicks off the top rope into a backflip. I've never seen anybody do it that fast before. It was like done really fast. Even Chris Cruz was like, I don't know what I just saw. It was just like really. I had to rewind it to re-see what I saw. Forza then kind of mounts Heavy Metal, and then it puts him in a double wrist lock for the win. It just kind of came out of nowhere, and then they beat on Heavy Metal some more after the match. Really fun match. The ending did kind of come out of nowhere, and it was kind of anticlimactic, but really, really fun match. I saw Heavy Metal in the 2000s, so he was already like no longer in his prime. So I thought he kind of sucked until I saw this match, and I was like, wow, actually, yeah, he was a different beast when he was younger.
Yeah, this match was great. I thought it was a great showcase for Mysterio. I don't know if you noticed, but there's like a downtime on the show, and Chris Cruz and Mike Tenay are like, Rey Mysterio's only 19. We're gonna see a lot more of him, and I kind of feel like I think Eric Bischoff was there. I kind of feel like they got told like, hey, hype up Rey Mysterio. But what a first showing for him, and what a really fun match. I love this match, and it. He didn't like my thing with Mysterio is he didn't like sell out arenas. He's not like he doesn't pull Hulk Hogan numbers, but in terms of work rate, dude, he's 49. He's 19 here. He's gonna wrestle tonight. I don't know. Where Raw's gonna happen tonight. He's in the building. We know that. 30 years at this fucking level, dude. That's fucking incredible. He's like. He almost should probably be the GOAT, the greatest of all time. What do you think?
Yeah, and you mentioned that he didn't pull in like crazy numbers. He actually, in the Latin American demographic, he does pull numbers. That's why I remember him and Eddie on the SmackDown. They used to filling some decent numbers. So he is somewhat of a draw. I would say, I know everyone says this, Rey Mysterio is the greatest luchador of all time, which
I think he's
I
one of the
agree
greatest
with.
wrestlers of all time.
Yeah, that's what I was about to get to. Yeah, I think it's time that people started putting Rey Mysterio in not just that category, but put him in the conversation of just the greatest wrestlers of all time, right?
Yeah.
I can't say he's the greatest, but I can easily see Rey Mysterio being in the top 5 greatest of all time. I will say
Who?
this. I think Rey Mysterio is maybe a better wrestler overall. I'm talking drawing power, ability to have matches,
Better than
everything
Bret
about
Hart.
him than Bret Hart. Yeah, than Bret Hart.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge Bret Hart fan.
Me
That's
too.
a big lot. That's a big deal for me. I'd say
My
that.
thing with Rey Mysterio is that, and look, Terry Funk, notorious for being a great worker, well into his 50s, and we still have his 50s to go. But name me someone who can deliver the work rate at 19 and at 49. There's not a single wrestler that we can like. I mean, first of all, Ric Flair wasn't wrestling at 19, but every wrestler at 49, they've come apart. I thought at WrestleMania 39 last year, Ray and Dominic had the best match of night one.
Oh, Dustin Rhodes. Dustin Rhodes can still go.
But not as Ray. You know what? We should have a fucking go off. If only Dustin was in WWE.
Yeah, I mean Dustin could go. Remember, he he had that match at World's End, which I hated that pay-per-view, but he had a match where he subbed in for somebody who was injured. I forgot who it was.
Keith Lee, your
Yeah,
boyfriend.
and he had a good match for someone who just came out of nowhere with no storyline. Like he subbed in. There was no storyline to that match happening, and he still had a great match. So Dustin Rhodes is I would say he's up there. There's a couple of guys who could still go in their 50s. Undertaker.
No,
Was he?
Undertaker didn't have to. No, first of all, Undertaker didn't start with it. Rey Mysterio comes out of the gate with the fucking work rate of a fucking beast and leaves with the work rate of a fucking beast. I mean, no, Undertaker eventually gets good, but I mean, like, he does, and I do think what he does, like right now we're 94, he can deliver when the moment comes for it, but he's not doing what Ray does in his 20s.
What about Minoru Suzuki?
I, I dude, I don't fucking know. I haven't. The first time I saw him, he walked out in AEW, and they fucking screamed like fucking Hulk Hogan walked out, and I'm like, who is this? And people on Twitter told me to go fuck myself. So I don't know. Like, yeah, I guess Minoru Suzuki's the greatest of all time.
I'm gonna say this: Satoshi Kojima. I think he's 53. His work rate is still really fucking good.
Yeah.
So I want to say there's actually a couple of guys in their 50s who could still kind of go, but that's not to diminish anything that Rey Mysterio, because Rey Mysterio hasn't even hit his 50s yet, and he's still just fucking great. He is. You're right, though. Let's put him in the conversation with. He needs to be in the conversation of greatest wrestler of all time, just like Chris Benoit. Okay, just like Chris Benoit. Speaking of which, match
Here we
number
go.
3.
Can I just say something? Because I noticed this. And this has a lot to say about Vince McMahon. So, first, number one, before we get this match, I really did enjoy this match. But, brother, did you notice how much bigger Tito Santana was than everyone else?
Absolutely, and Tito Santana is not even that big.
And Tito was not that big in WWE, and he looks like Brock Lesnar compared to everyone else in this match.
Jeez,
That
actually,
just
Tito
goes to
Santana
show you what was going on in WWE back then.
Dude, Tino Santana is actually pretty. He's not small either. He's 6'2".
I know, but like when he's like standing there next to like the barbarian and the warlord, it's like, oh, isn't that? Then he shows up here, and I'm like, this guy's a fucking killer. It was really funny because it's like really, really, really fun.
Yeah. So actually, yeah, we're gonna go into match number 3. IWC versus AAA. IWC, by the way, is not a real promotion. I think it's like a fake promotion that.
Oh, Andrew Lee, 1 second, bro. So you were talking about the
The
IWC.
IWC, yes. The IW. So match number 3 is billed as IWC versus AAA, but IWC is not an actual real wrestling company. It's a fake company created within AAA to kind of be like the American counterpart, right? So it would be like, um, what's another promotion that did stuff like that, where they created a fake like actual group in there? Isn't there another wrestling company that did something like that? Or am I just making that up?
It's kind of like the NWO, I would imagine.
I guess you could look at it that sense. Yeah, I guess you can. But they have their own championship belt and all that stuff. But it wasn't real. It's a fake promotion. But the IWC, being the American company that they're facing, has 3 technically American or non-Mexican wrestlers. They've got Pegasus Kid, Chris Benoit, rest in peace, Chris. Too Cold Scorpio, and Tito Santana. Even though he's Mexican, he's Mexican American, which mean, and they emphasize this a lot by the commentary team, that Tito Santana is not familiar with lucha libre style because he's only wrestled American style. And
Yep.
these two will be facing Jerry Estrada, who is the big version of the Jerito Estrada, the little version of him, and La Parca, who I think is still wrestling to this day, and Blue Panther, who is still wrestling to this day without a mask. Um, Blue Panther and Too Cold Scorpio, they start off as Estrada and Parca. They're kind of just doing this thing where Jerry Estrada and La Parca, they're tag team partners, but they don't like get along and they argue with each other a lot. And these two are going to be arguing a lot, like who starts the match, and then they'll start arguing about who's going to wrestle Tito Santana, who gets to wrestle Tito Santana. La Parca and Scorpio, they get into it. When they kind of get into the ring, they have such a fun exchange where they have like they face off and they do a little bit of dancing each. Great chemistry between La Parca and Scorpio. Um,
I love it. I loved it. I loved it.
yeah, they were just fun together. La Parca and Estrada, they keep breaking. There's a spot basically that comes in where La Parca and Estrada keep taking turns covering Too Cold Scorpio, and they keep getting broken up by each other because they want to be the ones getting the win. And eventually, these two start squaring off against each other, even though they're tag team partners, and they start fighting on the outside. This allows Blue Panther, who tries to powerbomb Chris Benoit, who actually reverses that powerbomb for the cover for the win for the IWC. I really like this match. This match was a lot of fun. What about you? What did you think?
I love this match. I loved the partners fighting and how it added to the story.
Yes. Uh-huh.
I love I loved I loved the action. I thought it was a great 6-man. Just another fun match. And man, when I remember when I got back in the WCW at the beginning of '98, I was like, yo, bro, fucking La Parca just he looks like a star. I love this outfit. And then they described he's like a tribute to the Day of the Dead and and then WCW did nothing with him. And I'm like, man, you had and I said this before on the podcast, and I'll say it again. The problem with WCW was the thing that made it work was that they brought in the high impact work rate and also the WWF style storyline. But eventually the La Parcas and the Rey Mysterios and all those guys had to interact with WWF guys, and they never got there. And La Parca should have been pushed more, but I had a great time with the show.
This is like La Parca at its peak, I think.
Yeah.
Like he's so charismatic, right? In the ring, he's so charismatic, he's so in shape. La Parca was wrestling even till this year, I believe. He's still wrestling. He is super out of shape. He's really fat, and he's been blacklisted by a lot of places because he is really difficult to work with. I don't know if you saw this. I actually saw a clip of this. He
No,
was
I didn't see it.
working with MLW because he wants his 2 sons who are also dressed like him to get involved in wrestling, right? So they've been having trios matches in MLW, right? Saying like, you hire my 2 sons and you also get me because I'm a legend, right? And
Yeah.
they did an MLW show, and I believe in Philly, where La Parca he went into business for himself, and he hit Alexander Hammerstone with a chair on the head for real, and then he hit Jacob Fatu on the head with a chair for real, and he gave Jacob Fatu a concussion, and the they wanted to beat the shit out of him, and they ran away, and basically they've been blacklisted ever since. So,
I
yeah, it's
mean, well, he's also
crazy.
old, and Jacob Fatu's in WWE, so it all worked out.
Exactly, yeah, and Hammerstone's in TNA right now, so it all worked
Yeah.
out. Um, and we get a Starcade promo, and we get Chris Cruz mentioning there is no Ric Flair at this Starcade. It's historic because he's not going to be here because he had to retire from the last match against Hulk Hogan. And I was like, that's right. I wonder how he's going to come back, actually. Curious about that.
Well, you'll find out very soon.
Very soon. Cool. We go to match number 4, our penultimate match. It is a 2 out of 3 falls match, like a typical lucha libre match, actually, because that's the actual real rules in lucha libre. You gotta win 2 falls out of 3, and it's hair versus mask. Hair on the line for Art Bart and Eddie Guerrero, who comes to the ring with Luis Piccoli, and the masks of El Hijo del Santo and Octagon, who is seconded by Blue Panther. I believe this match is actually on the Eddie Guerrero DVD. I
It
think
might be. You know, I bought those DVDs, but I haven't really jumped into them, and I
Mhm.
should to see if it is. I will say this: this is my favorite match on the show by far.
I like the Rey Mysterio match better, right?
You know
But
what I thought this. You know why I liked it? It was very sports entertainment.
yeah, it is, and not to say that this match is bad. This match is actually very good. It is very good. It's fun to watch, but you're right. It's more sports entertainment, so I guess that's probably why I liked
You know
the
what? You know
other
what? Also,
matches.
this show kind of dispels, and I think So when I got back into wrestling in '98, and I'm watching '96 pay per views, Eddie Guerrero doesn't have a lot of personality in the '96 pay per views, right?
Hmm. Yeah, you're
And
right.
I
He
kind of
doesn't.
feel like he got a little bit of stage fright, which I get. You know, he's on now national TV, and the rumor and what I believed in 2000, and what I believed for like years is like, oh, Vince McMahon got Eddie's uh
Personality
charisma personality out. It's here already, man. Like this guy, like I'm watching this guy. This guy could fucking main event against Bret Hart next month. He could main event against Hulk Hogan next month. He's already there. I just think he had a lot of stage fright, and I think he knew WCW didn't believe in him. There's a great story. Bruce Pritchard and Jim Ross tell the same story when they signed the Radicals, and Jim Cornette. I keep saying Jim Cornette. Jim Ross and Bruce Pritchard, like, we gotta sign them. We gotta sign them. Chris Benoit. Chris Benoit's going to change everything. He's your guy. And Vince said to them, no, Eddie's the guy. Eddie is going to be the guy that's going to go to the next level. And he was right, man. He was right. I mean, Eddie Guerrero is really just a tremendous talent. One of the greatest. Another guy who's one of the greatest of all time. He
yeah.
died. So.
And I think that's a good call. Eddie Guerrero always had this charisma. I think what it was, and maybe WCW, he had no real direction, maybe,
And I think
right?
he knew they didn't believe in him. He knew that
Yeah,
Hogan
yeah.
wasn't
He
going to
didn't have
wrestle.
direction. He didn't. He knew they didn't believe in him. He hated going to work. He was probably messed up half the time anyway, right? So I can totally
And I
see
think
him.
and I think once he knew that Vince believed in him, it came out. He
Yeah,
he got it back.
and I'll tell you what, it's full fledged out here in this show, man. What do you call it? El Hijo del Santo and Eddie Guerrero, they start the match as Chris Cruz and Mike Tenay do a wonderful job going over their history, how their fathers, these both men's respective fathers were in a tag team themselves, with Eddie's father being overshadowed, and how these two were in a tag team as well. And Eddie felt like, just like his dad, he was being overshadowed, which is why he turned to the dark side. Eddie hits an there's just this thing where Eddie Guerrero, they put El Santo on Art Bar's shoulders, and Eddie Guerrero has to hit like I guess like a top row head scissors. Really ugly. It could have been disastrous. But they do that, and they get the first fall on El Santo, and then they do a combination superplex and a frog splash on Octagon for the first fall. Remember, they win the first fall. The heels do. Now, fun fact about the frog splash. I just had to look this up. Everybody knows Eddie Guerrero was doing the frog splash as his finishing move because he did it as a tribute to his friend and former tag team partner Art Bar, right?
By the way, Art Bar, I had always heard like, oh, Art Bar was the guy with the great frog splash. It wasn't Eddie or Rob Van Dam, and I was like, man, I've never seen a better frog splash than Art Bar on this show. Fucking amazing.
So here's a fun fact about the frog splash. He technically, well, it technically in quotation marks invented the frog splash. Before him, it was not called the frog splash. It was called the jackknife splash. And Two Cold Scorpio said, "You look." Supposedly, the story is he told Art Bart, "You look like a frog when you're doing that." And Art Bart said, "That's what I'm going to call it, the frog splash." So that's the version that we see where you have to really do it like that. Art Bart technically invented the
Dude, to this day, like you talk about all these fucking super athletic luchas, and never seen a better frog splash than that. He, it's kind of like you never see a better DDT to Jake the Snake. It's incredible. It's fucking amazing.
Yeah. So they're gonna keep wrestling because remember it's 2 falls out of 3. In the second fall, Eddie hits a top rope Hurricane Rana on El Hijo del Santo. So he gets that one cover. Remember, you have to make both members of the tag team either submit or pin them in order to win. So El Santo's already been pinned. So now they got to get Octagon. So they try to double team Octagon, but Octagon hits a Hurricane Rana on Eddie for the pin. So he's got a pinfall on Eddie Guerrero. Then he hits the La Escalera, which is the Octagon's version of it, where he hits like a Russian leg sweep like that turns into a armbar submission combo. He does that on Art Bar to get the second fall. So now they're 1 win apiece. So we're gonna go to our third fall. Art Bar in this third fall, he hits a power driver on Octagon behind the ref's back for the first fall. Now remember, in Lucha Libre, the power driver is like a very protected move. It's an illegal move. You're not supposed to do it. The commentator team talks about how like, oh man, this guy, Angel, I forgot what they said, Angel Azteca Angel or Angel Azteca, he had to retire just like last month because he got power driven and stuff like that. I don't know if that's true because I had to look this guy up and there's no mention of this guy who had to retire. But like they do a great job emphasizing that you cannot do the power driver. It's an illegal move. It's too dangerous. So when it happens here, they're like, oh, they flip out. They did the power driver. And the AAA founder, Antonio Pena, he even comes out to check on Octagon and while this is
happening. It was really well done. It's really well done.
Yeah, because they made it seem like he was really effed. Like this. It's done. He's done. And
so,
now
So really quick. So when I watched, I listened to the Laps fan talk about Badge the Beach '96, and they did establish that Mike Racine. Mike today does make some shit up, but he did it in the service of the story. So I would not be surprised if some of the facts Mike today or Chris Cruz gives out is just made up to make the show better.
Oh, okay, I see. Which I'll be honest with you, I'm okay with that. It's wrestling.
Yeah.
It's fake anyway. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did not know that Mike Tan would make shit up. That's good to know. Okay. But yeah, Antonio Pena, the founder of the company, he's out. He's checking on Octagon. They get the stretcher out on Octagon because he took a power driver. He can't move. He needs to be stretchered out. All this time, his tag team partner, El Hijo del Santo, the son of the Saint, he's getting double teamed in the ring. El Santo does fight off the double team, though, and then he dives off the top rope to Eddie Guerrero on the floor. And this makes the referee check on El Santo and Eddie Guerrero. And while this is happening, the ref's back is turned. Blue Panther comes into the ring, and he hits the power driver on Art Bar in the ring.
That was awesome.
Yeah. The crowd's going crazy because it's like, you know what? what's good for the goose is good for the gander, right? It's like
Mhm.
we're giving you back your receipt. And El Santo, he crawls into the ring and he lays on top of Art Bar for the first fall. So now it's down to El Santo and Eddie Guerrero, two men with history, former tag team partners. Their fathers were former tag team partners. Eddie Guerrero, he beats on El Santo, who is, however, just able to just reverse a roll up for the win out of nowhere. After this match, the heels lost. They have to cut their hair off. Art, he cuts Eddie's hair off. Eddie cuts Art's hair off. Then El Santo gets a whole bunch of their hair and he starts handing it out to the fans, which I thought was kind of crazy. Um, then later on, they're gonna show footage of Eddie Guerrero getting his head shaved in the back. This was a very fun match. I will give him that. This was a good
I
match.
had a blast. I was so shocked that Eddie. I mean, 2005, 2003 Eddie's in full effect here, and man, I love this match. You know what I wonder? You know what I wonder? Why is no one ever taking these rules where you have to pin both people? Because it builds up so much drama, and I think it'd be like you could kill if AEW did these rules for a match. You could kill fucking 40 minutes on a pay per view like this. Whereas a 2 out of 3 falls match to pin both guys, you haven't. I like. There's ways to do Tony Khan's fucking indie bullshit in a way where it'll get everyone over. And I'm like, you get what I'm saying?
You
Like, why
know,
not just do this?
if AEW ever does do this, I think the team that could do this is one of
Lucha
them would be
Brothers,
FTR. Because
FTR versus Lucha Brothers, 40
yeah,
minutes.
yeah, because like you need the only thing is one of them is already bald, so obviously you can't have that
No,
stipulation.
but
But
I'm not saying like the stipulations. I'm
oh
saying the 2 out of 3 falls, both guys have to be pinned to move
yeah,
on.
okay, yeah, and I think FTR could do that because you need like I think FTR versus Lucha Bros could do this match 100%. Yeah, I think it'll be fun too. I would be into it.
The other thing is that how much charisma Eddie and Art Bar have. And you know what? You know what? I like this. I like the gimmick of we're Americans and we support the proposition.
One eight
You know, the
seven.
problem is Twitter takes things too literally, and Tony Khan is obsessed with Twitter. Make the turn the Lucha Brothers into these guys. Have them wear the American outfit and have them say we support Trump. It would be huge. But the problem is Twitter can't accept nuance. They can't accept these guys pretending to like. They'll fucking revolt and Tony Khan will freak out. But I like
Yeah,
this gimmick a lot.
yeah, I think it'll be fun if they did that. So unfortunately, we got to talk about the bad stuff then. So Art Barr, after this show, I believe he would pass away relatively pretty
You
much
know,
after this, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
He's
Art
also a
Barr.
pedophile, I heard.
Yeah, Art Barr actually passed away at November 23, 1994. So that's really in the same
Wow.
month. Yeah, that's only a few weeks after this.
But you
He
know
died
what?
at 28 years old. He died 28
Wow.
years old.
So he he
Uh,
he he could probably be like an agent in WWE or AEW right now. Or even
yeah.
still wrestling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. He they actually had there was actually big plans for him. Now, like he was like meaning like New Japan was really invested in this guy. He's
He's
supposedly
money. He's pure money.
yeah, supposedly Paul Heyman was like, I want to bring this guy in. Him and Eddie Guerrero was both supposed to go into ECW supposedly.
I'll tell you
So
what, whether you're Vince, Eric Bishoff, or Paul Heyman, what if you watch this match, you need these two guys. These two guys would have set every company they brought in on fire. 100%.
yeah, so yeah, he died. Art Barr died 17 days after this show. That was recent. Like it was like literally less than 3 weeks after the show
Yeah.
he died. And not only that, Triple A also had big plans for him.
Yeah.
Now comes even worse. So the thing with Art Barr that wasn't good was that he was charged with rape that he even admitted to. He supposedly raped a 19-year-old girl in Oregon and he admitted to raping her too. So he
Yes.
was blacklisted from wrestling in Oregon. Now, what happened was it was a young girl who was a wrestling fan, like a ring rat. He was at the show, and Art Barr said she did say no when I raped her, but I feel like she would have said yes if it was somewhere else.
Oh my God. He just would have been fucking. Oh, can you? And like, dude, he would have not gotten anything nowadays. They would
Oh,
have fucking
nothing.
shot him in the fucking face for saying that.
Yeah, yeah. That's so. If you're wondering why, like
Why would
Art
you
Barr,
say that?
yeah, that's what he said. Yeah, it's crazy. It was crazy. Remember, he said this in the '90s. Okay, he didn't say
But
it
he,
like
you know what though? I will say back then he probably could have got away with it and got a few good years out of WCW, WWE.
yeah, yeah. But if you're wondering kind of like why he's not really like talked about a lot more now, even now, it's kind of probably that. But so
Mm.
take it for what you will. He's a fun wrestler to watch, but he is also problematic in some
Even though she said no, she meant yes. All
yeah,
right, well then you're not guilty.
she would have said yes somewhere else. That's what his argument was. What a fuck, it's crazy. Oh my gosh. We're gonna go to our final match, main event, steel cage match, guys. Paraguayo versus Conan. Now, I've only seen Paraguayo before this. I've only seen him wrestle once, and it was when he was already a really, really old man when he was tag teaming with his son, uh, Paraguayo Jr. Paraguayo Jr. I really loved him. He was so good. His son was excellent. His son, do you know how his son died, right?
No, how did son die?
His son died in the ring. Rey Mysterio killed
Yes, Rey Mysterio murdered him.
him.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
Rey Mysterio hit the Rey Mysterio
I
killed him with
saw
the
that.
yeah.
How does Rey Mysterio get up in the morning? I remember thinking Rey Mysterio's career is over and everyone's just like whatever.
Yeah, he killed him with the 619.
Dude, that was crazy. I
He
remember
killed him
that.
with the 619. Yeah. It's terrible.
I feel like
Paraguayo
that's what
Jr.
made
was
him go back to
so
WWE.
oh my god. Paraguayo Jr. was so fucking good. Like when I was watching Lucha Libre, I remember this guy was like, I was like, who is this guy? He's got so much charisma. He was better looking than his dad, is better wrestler than his dad. There was even talk. I don't know if you remember this. Do you remember when Brock Lesnar first left WWF and he was just wrestling
Yeah.
everywhere else? One of the rumors was supposedly they wanted to CMLL wanted to bring in Brock Lesnar for one match against Paraguayo Jr. And I was like, but Paraguay was kind of small. I don't know how it, but like that was the one guy they wanted him to face. And I was like, that's how high he was on people's radars. He was so good. But anyway, his father, in my opinion, is not that good. And the commentating team, they do a great job going like, listen, we get it. He's not much to look at. Right? They even say it like that. They go, we get it. He's not really like doesn't look like a wrestler, but he's the everyman. He's the everyman. He's like Dusty Rhodes, but just like less talented. So it is Paraguayo versus Conan. Conan sends Paraguay headfirst to the cage multiple times. So Para's just bleeding right away from the beginning, just bleeding from the beginning. Paraguayo fights back with some really shitty offense. His offense is shitty. It's garbage. He hits like this really weak spine buster, and then he starts pinning Conan for no reason. Everybody's like, even the commentary team's like, I don't know why he's pinning him. It's a steel cage match. There's no referee in there. I don't know why he's
Yeah.
pinning him. It's like I was like, Paraguay, you're just a fucking idiot. And then he hits his La Lanza. By the way, his son would use this as his finishing move, Lalanza, which is like the double stomp, and he would use it like as a finishing move. This idiot, he's doing it multiple times in this match. He has no other move set. He just hits his finisher over and over and over again. And like it just weakens the finisher. It's so bad. We see Eddie Guerrero and Louis Spicoli watching in the back of the match, and I was wondering, well, how come they don't want to show Art Barr watching? Remember, Art Barr took that pile driver. He still got
Oh,
him
he had to
selling.
go rape some more women. So
Yeah, or rape some more women. But if they were someplace else, they would have said yes, of course.
yeah.
Anyway, Eddie and Louie, they're watching and they notice that Conan's in trouble, so they leave. They're like, okay, let's go. And then what ends up happening is they come running down to ringside and they have a drink with them. And as Paraguay was climbing up the cage, they throw that drink in Paraguay's face. And then they toss Conan some brass knuckles. And Conan uses it and he beats on Paraguay with the brass knuckles. And Paraguay just looks like a tampon. He just he's just a bloody mess, just gushing blood.
Oh,
All of a
yeah.
sudden, yeah, all of a sudden the music
This
hits.
was an effective use of blood because there's nowhere else in the show.
Good point. Very fair point. No other match in the show had a blood except for this one, which actually really helps because Paraguayo, I would say so far, is the least talented we've seen in all the matches.
But he's a legend.
Yeah, so that's why he needs it. Yeah. All of a sudden music hits and the Dynamic Brothers, which is Los Hermanos de Manita, which is Cien Caras, Mascara Año 2000, and Universal 2000. They come hit the ring. They run down and they start chasing Eddie and Spicoli around the ring. I don't know if you saw this. They pan out to show them running around the ring. And right when they come around one corner, you see a fan take a shot at Eddie.
Well, they said that the police were trying to escort fans out because fans were getting so heated at the match, they were trying to do something.
Yeah, you actually, though, when you see it, you see someone actually fucking go at Eddie. You see it.
Yeah.
And Eddie is fucking hot. When that happens,
you don't fuck with Eddie, Chico.
Yeah, he jumps into the crowd, and you see the Dynamic Brothers, kind of holding him back, and I'm like, brother, don't do it. Don't do it. And they're hitting him with, work punches, hey, we're supposed to be doing this thing where we're beating on you. And Eddie's no, selling. He's just I want to get back at that fan. And they're just no, don't do that, man. You gotta keep acting. You gotta keep acting here. Those guys, the Dynamic Brothers, they saved that fan's life. Or they saved it from an ass kicking.
Eddie had a temper like no other, bro.
Oh yeah. He was trying to go over that guardrail. He was pissed off. While this is happening, Conan is on the top of the cage, and then Cien Caras stops him from leaving and makes him fall back into the cage. And Paraguayo starts slamming Conan's head into the cage, and then hits a top rope La Lanza on Conan, and then goes to the other side of the ring and climbs over the cage and to the floor for the win. They mentioned a whole bunch of times that Paraguayo in this match in 1984 is 20 years older than Conan. I wish they did not mention that because it's and he beat Conan, so it makes Conan look like shit.
Well, no, I think they have to do that because he's a legend, and the people are there to see him win.
Fair point. Yeah.
So
yeah.
Yes,
first, talk about the match.
What?
I was gonna say. So after this, the match is over, but Paraguayo he starts doing a victory lap. Celebrating, and then he picks up a suitcase and he hits Louis Spicoli in the back, and Louis first turns around to see who it is, and then when he sees that it's Pero, he sells it. That's funny because he first goes, "Who is that?" And he goes, "Oh my back!
Oh my God, it's you!" Oh.
And then Pero takes the suitcase and he hits Eddie Guerrero with it. Eddie's too pissed off to care. He just goes, "Go fuck off!" Right? He no-sells the steel suitcase hit. And then Conan, actually, after this, he jumps into the crowd, too, because he wants to confront the fan who hit Eddie Guerrero. It looks like it's getting real ugly ringside. But people stop Conan. They go, Conan, go back. It's over. Just let it go. And that's basically how the show ends. What did you think about this main event, man?
It wasn't the greatest work rate wise, but I really liked the heat. I like the crowd. Listen, I don't know Aguayo, but I will say this. If they did this similar match in 2008, where fucking Edge is beating the shit out of Hulk Hogan until the New Day's not around back then, until CM Punk and Kofi save him, right? I would fucking freak out. I would fucking mark out too. You know what I'm saying? So, I understand Paraguayo means a lot to these people. This is the thing I will say. I don't understand how Conan became such a big star in Mexico. He's very mid to me. I would hear because Mike Tenay would tell you on the WCW pay-per-views in Mexico. And this is all truth. It's not like he made it up. He's a
Yeah.
soap opera star. He's a heartthrob. People love him. Da da da. Da. And then I watch him, and he looks like a fucking doofus. And I'm like, oh, maybe when I see the Mexico stuff, and I always thought, like, eventually I'll see the Mexico stuff, and I'll be like, oh, that's why they all love him. Right? We're in the heart of the Mexico stuff. I still don't get how this guy became so big.
Well, I think part of it is his look, his size. He's bigger than most of those other guys.
Maybe that's it. Maybe that's
Conan
it.
is big, and also Conan is, I think, a bit more exotic in the sense that Conan is not
Well,
Mexican.
he's not Mexican. He's Cuban.
Yeah, and I think that is very appealing. He's huge, and the fact that he's not a Mexican guy who's doing lucha libre, you know. And I think, dude, lucha libre fans are not that much different than regular American wrestling fans. They like the big guys too. I've seen plenty of lucha libre where they got this untalented big fuck, and he's like getting a prime spot because he's humongous. You know, people like big guys in wrestling. That's the thing. And you know what? Like, Conan's not the biggest guy in the world, but in lucha libre, he's pretty big. So I think that size kind of does help. That's what I think. But anyways,
right.
this was
it
the
was
worst.
a great show.
I thought the main event was the worst match of the show. It was awful.
No, I respect the Heat and I respect the love for it. So again, I feel like we had more context. Like if we grew up in Mexico, we would think this match is the fucking greatest. But we didn't. So
fair point. Fair point.
Overall, I thought it was a great show, and it's free on YouTube. If you want to kill 2.5 hours and just watch some great Mexican wrestling, it's there. And I also think it's a very important show because I think this is where Bischoff realized the formula to how he's going to beat Vince. And the formula is Hulk Hogan, WWF storylines, and then fucking incredible work rate. And I think he knew when he walked out of that building, I'm hiring Eddie, I'm hiring Rey Mysterio, I'm hiring Chris Benoit, I'm hiring La Parca. I think he knew, like, these are the guys. And, you know, when I think of WCW, I think of NWO, I think of Sting, but I also think of La Parca, and I think of Ray, and I think of Eddie.
Gotta do the cruiserweights because definitely WCW, they were the first ones to really give a consistent spotlight on lucha, on Mexican style wrestling, 100%. Yeah.
And as good as Shawn Michaels was in '96, the crew, like, you had like 20 Shawn Michaels at the same time. So, like, yeah, I enjoy this. I think it's a very important show. I think it's a very, very important show because it influences WCW, and in turn, it influences WWF. Without this show, Dominic Mysterio wouldn't be in the Judgment Day title room. He just wouldn't be.
Guys, this is a quick watch. It's like a little over 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a bad match on the card at all. Not even the last match. It's not a bad match. So if you got 2 hours to kill, watching some classic luchador, this is it.
All right, guys. So that's Worlds Collide. Next week, let's review the next 4 weeks. Next week, it's Survivor Series 94. Yokozuna versus Undertaker casket match. Then in 2 weeks, it's Starrcade 94. Brutus the Butcher Beefcake versus Hulk Hogan. In 3 weeks, it's Royal Rumble 95, which is Diesel versus Bret Hart. And then in a month, it's Super Bowl 5, Vader versus Hogan. What are you excited about, brother?
Oh, I do want. I mean, I do like Royal Rumble, but I would love to see Vader versus Hogan. Ever since you told me that Vader does not hold his punches back,
he doesn't, and I'm very excited to see it.
I'm very excited to see that too. Actually,
I'm very excited about the next 2 WCW shows. I'm in a very WCW mood. I think Bischoff and his crew are making all the right moves, including this show. From Havoc to this, they're making all the right moves. And Survivor Series 94 does have 2 good matches, but the rest of the show is fucking atrocious. Vince does not have the touch. And Royal Rumble 95, from what I remember, is not a good show. So I'm very excited to see WCW continue to up its game. We got the Macho Man back. But, you know, we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong about Survivor Series. It's actually a great show. We'll see next week. Right?
Yep. Bye, everybody.
All right, cool. All right, guys, that's the show. If you like it, subscribe, follow us on Instagram, and we'll see you next week for Survivor Series 94. Thanks, Andrew Lee, bro.
Art Bar says bye.
Bye.